Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another Daily Marvel Snap video. So today we had a brand new patch in the game, and with every new patch comes a new set of data mined cards, data mined variants, and just data mined information. So today we're going to be diving into the new cards that have been data mined. Keep in mind that this is subject to change. There are several tweaks that go through a lot of times before a card is officially released. And so starting off, we're going to be looking at the variants. Now, you may notice that some of the variants are for unreleased cards. We will dive into each of those a little bit closer as we're looking at the new cards that will be coming to the game. But I did want to take a quick second to just kind of look through some of this incredible artwork. Now, I have like 5 beast skins, but this one still looks incredible, and I will probably buy it. These variants are going to be worse than my high school bullies. They are going to be taking my lunch money on the regular. So we have some more unreleased cards like Blob, Jean Grey. We have a pretty sleek looking Juggernaut one. The Rescue looks pretty sleek. We have a few for Mr. Negative. The upcoming Spider-Man 2099, which is going to be phenomenal. And just overall, these look incredible. Like, I really like this Spectrum one. Like, this one really stands out. It's not anything crazy. It just looks really, really sleek. But we're going to go ahead and go through some of the new cards that are going to be added to the game. So starting off, let's dig into the ones that are going to be coming up the most closely. So these are ones that are data mined as being released soon, most likely in July, but that's not set in stone. Keep in mind that these may change, and any of the other ones, especially the other ones that don't have a set release date, they're going to be subject to change before release date to make sure that they are balanced upon entering the game. And so the first one is Phoenix Force. Phoenix Force was a little bit different, but with the most recent patch, it has changed. This one should be July's Season Pass card, and it's starting at a 5 cost, 5 power with the on reveal ability of revive one of your destroyed cards and merge with it. That card can then be moved each turn. I don't know exactly how this is going to be played just yet. Maybe this gives us a good use case for some lower cost destruction cards. And so if you use Carnage on a Hood, that is going to revive your Hood. I believe that on reveal would trigger just based off of how the card reads. I imagine Hood would re-trigger before it merges with Phoenix Fire because you're reviving it. I assume that it comes back onto the board and then they merge. So I think you would probably generate an additional demon, and then you're going to be able to move that Phoenix Force around. Probably not the best initial idea, but I think Phoenix Fire offers some unique play around potential that once this card is broken, I think it could be pretty strong. Do you guys have any initial ideas? Because that's really the biggest thing that's coming to my mind. Any of the big destruction tools like Nimrod or Destroyer, those seem like they're going to be a little bit too high cost to make much use out of Phoenix Force. But I think this one is going to be an interesting one to build around and experiment with. And then the next card that we have that's releasing was previously an ability that was unknown, and that is Echo. Echo already has a couple of really cool looking variants, and it has a pretty unique ability in that after your opponent plays an ongoing card here, remove its ability. So this is like a proactive Enchantress. So kind of think of like a Negasonic Teenage Warhead, where they're going to be a mixture between the two. This is more of a proactive rather than reactive. But keep in mind that this can be targeted by Killmonger. This won't stop cards that are summoned by like Jubilee, and Iron Lad may potentially be able to bypass the Echo's ability because it's going to start as an on reveal and then copy the ongoing ability. And then Arnim Zola is another way to cheat cards into that location. And then you also have to be cautious of cards like Lizard, Ebony Maw, Electro, a Typhoid Mary. Our typical like Shuri ramp into just massive powerhouse units are going to benefit if your opponent drops this there. They're going to be able to have their negative ongoing downsides taken away without really putting much work into it. So this one I think is going to be interesting. I feel like it's going to be a little bit harder to use than what people are anticipating, but it's going to be incredibly interesting to see. And I think it creates some kind of flexibility in how you want to build your tech cards into your deck, giving you another option instead of just Enchantress. So if you're seeing a lot of Hawk plays, you can play Echo into the location that you anticipate the Galactus and Null coming down, and then Null is no longer going to be impactful. And then we have Mirage. Mirage was originally, I believe, a 4 cost, 4 power card. On reveal, it looked like a Mr. Fantastic, and so up until the last turn of the game, it looked and acted like a Mr. Fantastic and then changed into Mirage after that. And that one felt really lackluster. It felt like it was going to be really hard to use. But now Mirage is a little bit cheaper. It's a 2-cost, 2-power card, which fits into a lot of decks really flexibly and really well. It's easy to slot this in. And then the on-reveal ability is copy the lowest cost card in your opponent's hand into your hand, and then give it +2 power. And so if stature is still prevalent at that time, if you can time this right, then you can copy the opponent's stature, and then yours is going to be 1 cost as well, and it's going to have additional power compared to what the opponent's has. You can use this to copy the opponent's Kitty Pryde, knowing that it's going to bounce back into their hand. You have a pretty good shot of being able to target that one specifically, and I think this offers some pretty cool and unique ways to play, and it gives you that information. So it's not quite the same as a White Queen, which gives you the highest cost card. This is going to give you the lowest cost card, so sometimes it's going to give you a rock, but if bounce is still prevalent, if things like Ebony Maw are ever really common in the game, this is going to be able to give you that flexibility to steal the opponent's powerful last turn plays and then use it against them. And then we're looking at one that, if it releases in its current state, I am so scared. We all know that swapping hands, so something like Mindscape, it's a feel-bad location. It's really hard to plan for. It's really hard to anticipate. Loki right now is showing as a 0-cost, 0-power, on-reveal swap hands with your opponent. Now, this could be used in a lot of different ways. You could use a Maximus and then drop this, giving your opponent more resources and then swapping them back over into your side. You could discard your hand with something like a MODOK and then drop Loki as well, giving your opponent no resources in return. This feels so scary to play against. I really hope that the ability maybe changes somehow, because as it currently stands, this is scary. I think it'd be fun for a little while, but then it would get really old really fast, because it's going to be like a much worse leech. What's worse than not being able to play your cards? Having your opponent discard their hand and then force you to give them your cards when they give you nothing in return. So I have some strong feelings about this card. Hopefully it changes. Hopefully it's not 0 cost as well. I think that's probably a placeholder. But just this ability alone is so scary and so powerful. We'll see if this releases this way. What do you guys think of Loki and his ability right now? I think it's overtuned if it released as it currently is. If it released today, I think this feels insanely bad to play into. And then we have one that there's not much information on. This is a newly data mined card. It doesn't have any stats or powers or abilities. It is just listed as Martyr. And so if you know the backstory to Martyr, I'm actually not familiar with Martyr's lore. If you do know it, leave a quick comment down below. I'd love to know a little bit more about this card and kind of her flavor to see if maybe we can guess what Martyr's ability is going to be. And then next up, we have Silver Samurai. Silver Samurai is a 1-cost, 2-power as it currently stands that has the ability, when this is discarded from your hand, draw a card. Now, this is drawing additional cards is so incredibly strong. So if you put this into perspective, the newly buffed Crystal is a 4-cost, 4-power that both you and your opponent draw a card. This one is just a one-sided draw if you're able to discard it. Being able to target this with things like Calling Wing, or just in a discard deck in general. Sometimes maybe you run this with a Moon Knight deck so that if it gets hit, great, you're going to draw additional resources and thin your deck further while the opponent doesn't get anything in return. I'm really interested in Silver Samurai. Any kind of card draw or deck thinning with a deck size of only 12 is just so strong. I think this one is one to look out for. Whenever this does end up releasing, I think this is going to be really scary and give kind of that Freddy Babes value style deck a lot more footing to maybe stand on. You can even throw in additional discard cards, and I don't even think this has to slot into a full-on discard deck, but it can really easily. And then we have an underwhelming one, which has been data mined before. This one isn't new to the data mines, but if you haven't seen any of the data mine cards, this one is new. It is a 3-cost, 4-power in Blob. It has the ongoing ability, nothing can move this to another location. This feels like a worse Colossus. It's a little bit more cost for a little bit more power, but this can be destroyed, so you can't throw this into locations like Altar of Death, Death's Domain. Nothing is going to be able to move this one, and so I'm not fully sold on this one, but we'll see if any other cards release that kind of support the Blob playline, but right now it feels really underwhelming. I didn't do one of these before, but we have Spider-Man 2099. This one's going to be insane. The first time that this card moves to a location, destroy an enemy card there. So you'll be able to use this in unison with like maybe a Cloak, maybe a Doctor Strange, to give some kind of claws to a movement style deck, or not even a full movement, but just kind of like a hybrid movement style, I think this one can be or will be pretty scary. And then we have Legion, and Legion was changed just a little bit, but it's a 5 cost, 7 power with the on reveal, replace each other location with this one. I think there's going to be some kind of cool use cases for it. I don't think this one breaks the game, but I do think it'll be kind of interesting to see. It's going to be like a more targeted Quake. Maybe use this into Altar of Death to make it where no cards can be played into any locations. This also, with Storm in mind, this also can override a flooded location, allowing you to open it back up and play cards in that location again. And so you could also use this on the Vault on turn 5 to lock them out of the game on turn 6. There's just a lot of, I think, niche use cases for it, and we'll see if it's going to be impactful enough to be worth slotting in. It could be one of those cards that the ability sounds strong, sounds powerful, but so maybe at that extra cost of that power that you're giving up, when something like a Gamora or a Spider-Woman can pretty easily be a 5/12, giving up that extra 5 power, is it going to be worth it to have this on reveal? Either way, I think this is a really unique ability, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of changes this brings into the game. And then the last one that we have that I saw is Lady Deathstrike. Lady Deathstrike is a 6/4 with the on reveal, destroy the enemy cards with the highest power at this location. Maybe this could be a good use case for Ghost, making sure that you can reveal last. The opponent's big power play, whatever it ends up being, is going to be able to be destroyed. That's 6 energy. To make it worth that energy cost, it has to be somewhere around 10 to 12 on average power. So we're going to have to take out about a 6 power card consistently with Lady Deathstrike. I don't think that that's too hard to do, but at the 6 cost slot, I'd be interested to see how well this fits in. Now, maybe in a Mr. Negative sense, since it only has 4 power, maybe you can do this, but that also becomes really clunky, really niche for that use. I think this sounds like a really strong ability, but at 6 energy, I'd be interested to see if it is strong enough to be worthwhile to run in many cases. And then last but not least, I almost forgot Jean Grey. Jean Grey is a 3/3. It was recently changed from what it was data mined at before. It now has the ongoing ability, players must play their first card here each turn, if possible. And so before it was one-sided, where your opponent had to play their first card there each turn. Now it goes both ways, but you can build your deck in a way that may not be that detrimental. So you could either cap it out early if you have a way to buff those cards up later. You could fill it up with something like a Nightcrawler, a Jeff, a Vision, Phoenix Force, any card that's able to move so that you can play your cards somewhere else and then move that out when you want to invest more power into that lane. And I can think of several other uses for it. I think this will be really cool at blocking Galactus. It gives you another tool in your arsenal to force the opponent into not really being able to efficiently drop Galactus. So I can imagine the opponent drops an Electro, you can drop Jean Grey in that Electro lane, and then now they're forced to play their card every single turn there until they destroy the Electro, making it much more difficult for them to get that high value, high return playoff. So I think this is just restrictive enough. It's like an inverted Morag where you can control where that Morag location is going to be. And so overall, I think cosmetically we have some really cool things coming to the game. I think we also have some really strong, really unique artifacts that are also going to shift up how we think about Marvel Snap and how the metagame itself is able to navigate. I think some of these cards, while not necessarily being broken, are going to be viable enough at countering particular things, at being versatile enough. It can shift the game in a very healthy way. What are your thoughts on the upcoming cards? Which one do you think is going to be the most powerful? Which one are you looking forward to the most? For me, it's going to be Loki. I think no matter what his ability gets released as, how he changes, I think he's going to be really impactful and have that sneaky element to him that allows you to misdirect and misguide your opponent, which I think is really true to his character. Let me know which one you're looking forward to in the comment section down below. And let me know if you like this style of video, something where I kind of take a step back from gameplay every once in a while and cover either some news, a patch, or upcoming data mined cards. And so I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. As always, in TLSG. Later, guys.